I'm Jeff with Radical Honesty, and today I'm continuing on the topic of the conflict between Israel and Hamas. We're going to be talking specifically about the issue of who has right to the land. Now, I'm not going to be referring to the Bible, okay? We're going to wait for biblical text later on in this series. So we have to talk about politics and how the world sort of divvied up Palestine. Right now, Israel controls Palestine. Even the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, technically Israel controls, okay? Israel, once Hamas took power in the Gaza Strip, Israel basically pulled out its settlements and said, we don't want it because Hamas just doesn't want a two-state solution. So whose right to the land is it? An important date is 1917. For 1917, the British declared something called the Balfour Declaration. You see, they and the French and probably some other nations, okay, began to divvy up the old Turkish Ottoman Empire. And as a result, the British got control of Palestine. For various reasons, and it's usually tied to World War I, they allowed lots of Jews to resettle into Palestine in limited numbers under British control. That control was to end in 1948. So in 1947, the United Nations said, there's going to be a problem here between, Arabs and Jews, because the British, who had like governorship, are leaving. So they proposed a two-state solution. A lot of people talk about two-state solutions now. That was first sort of proposed in 1947 with an international sort of control over Jerusalem. They knew how difficult to divvy up Jerusalem was, okay? Now, when the UN came up with that declaration, the Jews in Israel were really happy, okay? Oh, we got to get a state, okay? But the Arabs were not happy. I read they were outraged. How dare the UN sort of, give this land to Israel, the Jews, and they become the new state of Israel. So 1948, when the British sort of like, okay, we're leaving, sort of like the US leaving Afghanistan, we're leaving, the Jews declared independence. As at this time, the Arabs went to war against the state of Israel, okay? And as a result of that conflict, when there was a sort of an agreement, a peace treaty, basically Israel controlled generally what the UN had said would be the Jewish state, but they also controlled 60% of what the UN said would be the Palestinian state. And they went to war over it. Israel won. They said, well, we got this land fair and square, you attacked us. This is what makes this situation really difficult. Because, do you want from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free, that means there's only one state. Do you want to go back to the UN declaration, two states? Yeah, but it's not equal because the Arabs didn't want it and they went to war and they basically lost a lot of control of their land, This is what makes it interesting, very difficult. You want a two-state solution, but you know what's interesting? The West Bank and Gaza, they're not tied together, So what do you do? Build a bridge over there? You can't do that, So how do you have one state of Palestine in two separate locations that are not connected? It's really very interesting, okay? So I don't know who has the solution for this. I don't know how it will be resolved. Because one thing is that in this present political climate, there are Muslim states that have full sort of diplomatic relationships with Israel, Egypt, Jordan. Then you have other Muslim states that are sort of really close to having sort of a diplomacy with Israel. That includes Saudi Arabia. And then there are Muslim states that are, on paper, wanting to annihilate Israel. Includes Iran, Lebanon, and the Hamas ruling party in Gaza. So it's very hard. That's why we need Jesus Christ to come back. Because as Jesus says, there will always be wars and rumors of wars. This is how human beings react and live, okay? People conquer lands, they take over. You say, oh, America wasn't like that. Oh, what's really interesting, I was thinking about the analogy. We got the Louisiana Purchase and Seward's Folly. We got like Alaska from the Russians, and the land west of the Mississippi from the French. Yeah, but where did they get it from? The French, basically colonized the Native Americans, and the Russians took it from the Eskimos. So maybe technically the Eskimos and the American Indians should have owned the land. Yeah, but the French colonized it fair and square. They sold it to the Americans. Americans have the deed. Alaska, the land west of the Mississippi. So how do you do it? How do you figure it out? This is why we need Christ. Because Jesus said that when he comes back, he will want to sort it all out. And sort of like give to each and every one all that we deserve and all our folly, and bring peace to this world.